right, well, good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Eric Doordash, guys. Like I said, we're going to have a little bit of a story time for you. So I just went and took my car to Chevrolet. As if you've tuned in before, you might know I've complained that my car is making a popping noise on the driver's side when I'm moving in any way, forward or backwards. So I have already taken my car to them once a few months ago for the problem. They diagnosed it. Now, when I took it to them, I said the car is making a popping noise on the front end, whether you're moving left, right, forward, or backwards. The front end is making popping noises on the left and right side. Now, they diagnosed the car and say that it was the axle shaft on the right-hand side, and that it was the wheel bearings on the right-hand side and the links or something, right? So I got all the work done, but that's just the right side of my car. They didn't diagnose any issues on the left, on the driver's side. So I paid to get all that work done, and as I'm leaving their property, I turned my camera on, and I'm driving out of their building, or, their garage. I got the steering wheel turned all the way to the left, and all I can hear is pop, 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 coming from my side. I'll do a little video real quick for you guys. So we got it in reverse. Now, I'm just going to go real slowly. Listen to this, guys, because this is exactly what it sounded like leaving their building 2 months ago. Now, it's just a slight popping noise. Right? I mean, it's not a huge popping noise. Let's try the other direction, right? Let's go this way. Oh yeah, that's more distinctful, isn't it? You definitely can hear it, no matter how you do it. You can hear it, right, guys? Now, somehow they can't hear this noise. They can't hear it, guys, so they didn't diagnose it. I only paid for the right-hand side of my car to get fixed, and I paid $50 for the diagnosis, and, around $2,000 for all the parts that I put into the car, and got that fixed. Well, it's still making noise, so I just took it back to them, and they diagnosed the problem. Now, a bit of a story. Okay, so I take my car to Chevrolet, I give them the keys, I explain the problem, I tell them my exact words the first time I took it to them was, if you're moving the car forward or backwards, moving left or right, it is making a popping noise coming from the front end. Bring it back this time, I said, if I'm moving my car forward or backwards, left or right, I'm hearing a popping noise. It sounds like it's coming from the driver's side, is what I said this time. So this guy, I give him my keys, the guy behind the counter, he was real good. I liked him. He was a good guy. It was just some kid working the counter, but he goes and the service associate that's handling the phones, he goes outside, goes to get my car and put it in the shop for the technician, and he goes out to the car, and I guess he tries to start it, and it doesn't start. So he comes inside and he tells me, it's been 5 minutes since he left outside. He comes back inside, goes to the waiting room, tells me, hey, I can't get the car to start. I don't know what the problem is. Could you come outside and maybe, help me out? I'm like, did you push on the brake when you hit the button? He goes, yeah, I did that. I'm like, okay. So I go outside with him, get in the car, push the brake, hit the button. The car starts. But it's a hybrid, so, it doesn't start like an engine. You don't hear noise. The light just turns green. You're good to go. The battery's on. It's a battery engine. So I started it. I'm like, well, there you go. He looks at me, he goes, it's on? I'm like, yeah, it's on. He goes, dude, it's not even making a noise. I'm like, yeah, it's a hybrid, man. So that was a good laugh, because I'm in a waiting room full of like 6 other people with the kids and stuff. So when they hear him saying he can't start the car, I come back in the room, I'm smiling ear to ear, dude, and the guy, everyone's looking at me, this older guy's like, well, I sit down and I look around and I go, hybrids, guys, they're so quiet you can't even tell they're on. And everyone is fucking laughing, dude. Everyone. But anyway, so this same, kid that was behind the counter, he comes back in there, and he tells me, I've been there for 2 hours just getting a diagnosis on, what is probably an axle shaft out. That's what it ended up being, but, the axle shaft. And he comes back there 2 hours later. He said, they're still trying to diagnose the problem, but let me go back real quick. So he comes in the room after I've been there for 2 hours, and he tells me that they can't diagnose the problem. They're not hearing a noise. That's what he says to me. I've been here 2 hours, and you can't hear the noise? You haven't even diagnosed it? What? It took how long for me to show you guys the noise? 30 seconds? I've been here for 2 hours. That's pretty crazy. Like, did you not even move the car? Right? What's going on? And he goes, the technician, his exact words were, the technician is having trouble diagnosing the car. He can't get the noise to happen. Is there anything specific you're doing when the noise occurs? And I looked at this guy and I'm like, and I know it's not his fault. He's just going back and forth. He's the messenger, but I was like, oh yeah, I'm glad you asked. I was like, yeah, there is something specific that I was doing when it makes the noise. He's like, and he leans in and I said, yeah, so there is something specific that I'm doing when it makes the noise. What I'm doing is, I can explain it to you. If you start the car, roll the window down on the driver's side, and then move the car, you can go forward, backwards, left, or right. But the main focus is you have to move the car in any direction. It will make the noise. I hope that helps. And he's just like, yeah. Okay, so move the car in any direction. Gotcha. I'll let him know. He walks off. And dude, everyone in this room is looking at me like, what? And I'm just like, dude, what's going on? You couldn't hear that? What? So then he comes back and he starts trying to explain to me that after diagnosing it, he said the problem could be the axle shaft, but after calling the company or whatever and talking to, I don't know what he was talking about. He said they made a phone call, talked to someone, and after talking to them, they said if that isn't the problem, what they think the problem might be, the problem I just let you guys hear, coming from my wheel on the driver's side of my car. He said, if it's not the axle shaft, they think the problem might be the transmission. You think the problem is my car's transmission? What's wrong with you people? What? That is not a transmission issue. How do you work in a garage? I am car illiterate, and I can tell you that's not a transmission issue. You're hearing a metal popping noise, a snagging popping noise. Sounds like worn metal that's struggling to handle the freaking pressure put on it when it's trying to be turned and operate the way it's designed, because it's old, it's worn. You can hear it. What are you talking about, dude? A transmission? Guys, I involuntarily laughed out loud when the guy said that, and I know he's just a messenger. It wasn't his diagnosis, but I had to let the kid know, tell the technician it's not the transmission. Tell him it most likely could be the axle shaft. Perhaps let him know you guys already fixed it on the right-hand side of my car, so it's pretty obvious that would be the diagnosis when the problem's also occurring on the left. Like, what are you talking about, dude? He walks off. Comes back an hour and a half later. I have now been here for 3.5 hours to get an axle shaft diagnosis. What are they doing? He said they had to take some parts, take it apart, look at the parts, make sure what it was making the noise. Okay, I get it, but you couldn't even hear the noise 2 hours in. What? The reason I'm explaining and fixating on the time is because they charge $50 per hour, apparently, to diagnose your car. Now, when he came in 2 hours in, he asked me if they could spend an extra hour diagnosing the problem because they were struggling to hear the noise. They needed more time. So when I walked up to, and he was filling out my paperwork, they were trying to charge me $100 to diagnose the axle shaft problem. $100 to diagnose a little popping noise. What? I've already been here. I already paid the diagnosis fee the first time. I told them the front end was making a noise, and they decided it must only be half of the front end. I literally can hear the noise as I'm leaving the day I fixed my car. And they're now trying to charge me another diagnosis fee. And on top of that, they're trying to charge me double what it costed last time because it took them extra time to diagnose it this time. It took you extra time to diagnose the popping noise. All I did was put it in reverse, guys. Anyone watching this video right now, that's all it took. What are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? So I explained to him I'm not paying that. It's already been diagnosed. I've already paid this fee before. I'm not paying it doubled. So he goes and gets the manager, and I explained to the manager very calmly and politely, guys, like, this is what happened. I brought my car in already. He's like, okay, well, let us look it up. He looks it up on the computer, finds the exact entry of when I talked to the service guy last time, and he's like, okay, it says car is making noise on front end when turning left or right, forward or backwards. He looks at the guy, the kid that was behind the counter that was doing all my paperwork, and goes, don't charge him, just get him taken care of. It's like, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you understand that I already have had this problem diagnosed. Glad you understand it. Well, the other problem is when I got my battery fixed, I've complained about this, my camera shuts off. So while I had their attention, I went ahead and led them out to my car, because when I explained to them that when they fixed my battery last time, my rear view camera keeps turning on and off every time I put it in reverse after shutting my trunk, they couldn't diagnose that problem either. They can't hear anything and apparently see anything either, guys. They're blind, deaf, and possibly dumb. They couldn't figure this out. So I went ahead and led them outside and asked them to watch. Well, I'll show you guys, just like I showed you the noise. I paid for them to diagnose this problem, and they couldn't figure out what it was last time. Here, let me show you what I paid for. Alright, guys, so I'm going to put it in reverse. See that beautiful camera there? See how you can see what's behind me? Alright, I'm going to put it back in park. Now, I'm not going to shut the car off or anything. I'm just going to walk behind it. Didn't slam it. Just very gently set it back down, guys. Let's check it out. Let's see if I'm right. I told him it will do it 100% of the time if you do this. Wow! Service rear vision system. I can't see a damn thing, guys. It's a black screen. What a darn shame, guys. Imagine paying someone to not be able to diagnose that problem. I mean, imagine that. Anyway, that's going to be the end of story time, guys. I got my car scheduled to get this fixed in a couple days. They said it's going to be like $640. Apparently, it's going to cost $420 in labor, and the part itself is only going to be $200. So, learn how to work on cars, guys. That's my advice to you. Don't be car illiterate like me. Don't rely on these businesses. They scam you. They charge so much money. It's crazy. I just couldn't, guys. He fucking said he couldn't hear it. He said they couldn't hear it. You can't hear that popping noise? What are you doing, dude? You can't turn left or right. You can't move the car forward or backwards. You can't hear that. And you're charging people for your service? Jesus, dude.